Thanks for taking the time, man, by the way. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on here. Really quick, can you hear any noise in the background?
Not particularly, no.
I have my dog in here in my office and he's just chomping away on his bone.
That's all right. No worries. You'll probably hear my kids scream in the background because they're home. So I normally do them during the day when nobody's home, but it's all good.
No worries.
Hey, dude. All right. So thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. Risby, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, man? How did you get started in the business and just, any background, right? Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Risby, I'm a conventional real estate investor from Connecticut, living in New Britain. My focus is primarily on taking over mortgages, using other people's money to finance my real estate and not having to use a bank.
How did you get started into the business then?
It all started back when I went to Australia on a vacation almost. We'll call it a vacation. I was working when I was over there as a Muay Thai trainer. Growing up in martial arts, I've always seen a lot of gym owners not really financially stable based on the business. And the facility that I was teaching at, the owner was always traveling every week to a different place. He was in his 60s. He was just always traveling. I couldn't really understand how, because what I knew was he was just a gym trainer, gym owner. And that just didn't make sense to me growing up in martial arts. And I had a conversation with him and he said real estate. I didn't really understand what that meant either, real estate, because I've always heard that as well, till I started digging deep into exactly what that was. And I figured it was rental properties. And there's a lot more to just buying houses with bank money. It goes way deeper than that.
You know how many properties this guy had that he was able to just travel like that?
No, that wasn't even a question at the time. It was just like, how are you doing it? Rental properties. That's really what it was. I didn't have the knowledge that I have then where I could ask him more detailed questions. It was just amazing to me that he was traveling because I saw that. That was the visual confirmation I had, was him always leaving.
You wanted that for yourself, I imagine. You wanted some sort of,
I did.
You could just get out and go wherever.
Freedom. Even as a kid, I was always focused in business. Growing up, my cousins are all educated. They have their master's degrees and they're all still working. So I saw that and I didn't want that for myself. So I focused on making my own money as a business owner, selling stuff on eBay. And as I got older, I went to college and then went to Australia. And that's what really helped me out, was seeing someone doing something like that.
So have you ever had like a real job, I would say? I mean, it was always kind of like arts and real estate.
Oh, no, I had real jobs. Business, it was always like a side hustle. So I was a security guard. I worked with the intellectually disabled. I worked in schools, group homes, things like that. Those types of jobs allowed me time to think. So especially as a security guard, I'm not really doing anything. I'm standing on my post or sitting on my post on the computer. A lot of people, they'll watch Netflix and all that. I was doing that at first until I was just tired of working over 60 hours a week and the government's taking all of my money, most of my money. And I just couldn't see myself doing that. So I took my time to study during that time.
When did you buy your first property then?
When I was 23. So I went to Australia when I was 22, did a year over there, and I came back. I was like, when I come back, I'm going to buy a house. And that's what I did.
So when were you the security guard? At what point were you educating yourself on this kind of stuff? I imagine afterwards you came back.
It was afterwards. So when I came back, I went on vacation. I'm broke again. My credit cards are maxed out, whatever. I'm doing my security work, trying to build back up.
Now, this first house you get, is this traditional financing? So I know I want to get into this, right? That you do this. Everybody talks about other people's money and stuff, but you really do seem to be one of the only people out there. And honestly, man, like I'm kind of blown away that you don't have like a bigger following on Instagram because you are doing what people talk about and it almost seems not really real, right? What you're doing. So your first property, we'll get into that quick. How'd you get that one? Traditional financing, I assume.
Yeah, I used FHA, 3.5% down. I actually didn't get approved based on how much money I was making. So there's like a little loophole as far as with the underwriters is if you work overtime, they don't approve it as actual hours because overtime can fluctuate. If you can maintain that overtime for a good 6 months, which is what I did, that will actually prove as real income. So I did that and I was able to get to my house and then I stopped working overtime.
All right. So first house, single family, multifamily, what is it?
I'm in it right now. It's a multifamily. It was a 2-family. I'm in the 3rd floor, which is like another unit. It doesn't have a second egress. I just use this as my office.
Did you make it an illegal 3 and live in the illegal unit or you kept it completely legal?
It's still the same. So how it works is since it's on the third story, it has to have a second way out for fire purposes. And it will cost way too much to add one here. So when my second floor tenant moves out, I'm just gonna rent it with the second floor, and that's legal as a one unit.
That's what I just had a property where I did that. I converted the attic into the second unit to be able to get just more bedrooms, right? So I could rent it for a little bit more money. So it's not illegal by any means, right? But just pulled that attic, finished it, connected it to the second floor. Maybe a little bit of like what you have going on, right?
Yeah.
That's cool, man. So still working as a security guard, have your place, right? Or no?
So at that time, I was in the group homes at that time. I was working in a group home, even as I was changing people's diapers, and I didn't want to do that because I saw the old, we'll call them CNAs. I don't remember what they're called. I would see them and they're in their 40s, 50s, still doing it, and just unhappy.
Yeah.
You know, getting your 2 weeks every year. I'm not cool with that. Like, I need more time. Time is really valuable. Not the money, it's the time is what you want.
I can hear the dog, by the way. Not that doesn't bother me.
You can hear him, Prince.
You're working, you've got some rental income to offset your property, right? You still need this freedom though. You're driven by this. I got to get out of this. I want freedom. You're doing research still, or did you back off a little bit? Like,
no, I never backed off. I never backed off because I had all that time at my job. I wasn't going to spend it doing nothing. Literally, all I was doing is watching all the videos on YouTube. I was on Zillow, Redfin, Realtor, analyzing every single house, finding ROI, NOI on every single house, whether it was a deal or not, just learning it. I had my notebooks. Yeah, I was just studying podcasts, reading. Rich Dad Poor Dad was the best book that I read, and a lot of other stuff was just podcasts because you can consume a lot faster. Really, that was it. Just learning. I didn't buy my second one. Well, the second house I got was seller financing. So there was a property in New Haven that was 3-family where the old lady had moved because her nephew or son got shot. So they had fled to Florida and they just left the house. And she said the house was owned outright because she had did some work, some civil rights work back in the day, and the attorneys general had paid it off. So my agreement with her is I never even met her. This was all over the phone.
You're cold calling at this time, right? Because I know you do a lot of that.
Yeah, I was cold calling.
You're working full time, basically. You're cold calling on the side, and
I wasn't cold calling how I am now though. I was at a job. I wasn't cold calling like I am now. This is like full time. Back then, it was just I'll call when I call, but really just learning. I was just studying. Phase. Told her that I'll fix the house. I didn't have any money. So I was just like, I'll fix your house for you and then I'll pay you on the back end. What I had learned was houses that are owned outright have equity. So my plan was to draw whatever I can from the house, use that to renovate it, and then sell it.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So that was the strategy, and I got foreclosed on. Yeah, I didn't complete that strategy. I lost like $5,000 in cleaning it out. She ended up having a mortgage on it.
Okay. Happens, right? You keep going.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I'm not really responsible for it as far as there's nothing on my credit because of how I bought it. So that was a learning experience. And then I learned a lot more after that. So
you keep going, right? Now you're still, that happened. You lost some jobs. Still working, still learning, calling on the side here and there. How do you get to this point where you quit, right? You don't really work anymore, right? I mean, I think you do some training like Muay Thai, right? But you're kind of living off of this now, this machine you've created here, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would like to. So my whole strategy now is this. So I buy underwater properties. So sometimes the properties that I buy, they're not in a turnkey position where they're cash flowing. I have to do something to it. And sometimes the work that I have to do to it, I can't tap back into that equity because I'm underwater. So this is when your debt service is important, knowing that side, because a property that's going to foreclosure, I like the one I just got a good one on October. It was a lease back. Instead of going through a bank and waiting for it to foreclose or even buying at an auction and this lady be homeless, I'll just pay off the liens what the bank required, the foreclosure will stop. And they'll add the arrearage to the back end of the loan. That type of strategy of getting the deed.
So now you're letting them stay back in the house and they're renting it to you.
Right.
Or you're renting it to them. Sorry. You're letting that old home.
They're renting. Yeah. I'm the landlord.
How many properties do you have?
I have 4 houses. 4
houses, but more than 4 units, right? Because you got
Right. The one that I have now, my single family where I live in is a 2-family. I rent rooms out and I rent, I have a 3-bay garage in the back. I don't know if how personal I should get with the information.
Dude, it's fine. It's up to you. Like, I mean, as long as look, I mean, off topic, if you sold drugs, you want people to know that don't talk about it. But If you have an illegal unit, like that's cool, whatever. I mean, no one's gonna know who you are. Like, what do you? I mean, you hustling, you're chopping things up. So what's your?
Yeah.
You could get
No,
personal.
it's more like somebody coming after me. I don't know.
No. So you got one that you're renting rooms, you rent like some garages out and stuff. You're making use of all the space basically.
And then I teach upstairs, above the big garages, my Muay Thai privates. Like that's why I live off of that. I live off this property itself.
Yeah.
Everything else is just accumulating, letting it build.
Right. So it's accumulating, saving money to be able to go do it again to buy the next one because you pay off some liens to be able to acquire all these properties. So it's not like you're not coming out of pocket with anything, but it's just way cheaper because maybe you got to pay $20,000 in liens, right, to get a property up to snuff.
Right. So the thing is, I don't want to get too advanced on it, but certain liens have different type of superiority in positions. Mm-hmm. So for example, I'm ready to pick up another deal where there's 3 mortgages on the property, right? It's a livable property. The problem is that the third mortgage that's on it is $65,000, which is huge, right? And her first 2 mortgages, like 40 and 50, so like 90 plus that 65 wouldn't make sense for somebody. Now, what I know is that the third mortgage is charged off, but however, they won't remove the lien.
Okay.
So I could buy this property with the liens attached and do what I need to do, fix it, get it rented over time. And while I'm negotiating for Bank of America to remove the lien. Now, the thing is, what people don't know is they've already been paid through insurance. They want me to pay it so they can remove the lien, right? So you can do almost as a pay for delete like you do with credit cards. And instead of giving them that 60 over time with appreciation, equity, all that, maybe in 3 or 4 years or something, I get them to settle on a $20,000 lien release. However the numbers work, but that's just a strategy. I can take it over and then deal with that later. I can make my money now. Right. And I have to worry about that because until I need to tap into the equity.
Right, which you don't need right now because you're picking it up with really no money out of pocket.
They don't even want the house.
Yeah.
They don't want the house. They're not paying the mortgage. And now it's just over their head.
That's crazy. So it's just so creative, man. That's why I feel like it's so, I'm not saying what you're doing is easy by any means, but I don't get why more people aren't doing it, right? Because it's always, you'll call that guy, right? The standard thing, I guess, is someone calls that person and says, oh, hey, like, let me buy your house from you or whatever. And they can't figure out the liens, so they just move on, right? You're like, hold on, like, because there are more people who have these lien problems than are willing to sell in the whole wholesale. Like what you're doing, you could wholesale, I guess, but you stop on these deals and you're like, all right, this one's a problem. Most people move on. These people have probably been called a bunch of times, right? I imagine. Yeah. And you're just not walking away from, you're like, all right, there's a problem here. You're upset. Let's work on this. Let me help you. Where everybody wants to move on from it. Short sale, whatever. You know, they go, oh, I'll help you out. I'll give you a short sale, whatever. Right? You're making something. You're like, hey, look, I can take your problem on. I know the bank's going to eventually forgive this for less than what they want. I don't need to pay them right now so I can make some income. Awesome. You're making income. I mean, even if later on this isn't your plan, but worst case, it's like you just hang on for 20 years. This probably be worth enough to pay back the 60, even if you have to get the lien released.
Right.
You can pay anything for it anyway.
Right.
You cash flowed all of it for the past 20 years by the time that happens. You know, I got a couple other questions for you, but I just keep thinking like, so you really have to work much now? I mean, you kind of, because you said it's not about the money, it's about freedom. Can you travel? Like, are you making enough that you can pay your rents and stuff and travel a little bit more at least?
My friends always telling me to travel and I'm just like, I can't. Because I'm really focused. I have such big goals and I know what I need to do to attain them. I think of myself as like, my mindset coach says is bad, is that I don't deserve a vacation. So my goal for this year is 1 house a quarter, which I've done. So I'm in my last quarter right now, getting the last house or sell a house, whichever. Acquisition, disposition, close a deal to make something. If taking a vacation will take me away from work, because I did one in January on my birthday and I was like 2 weeks behind. So, because I go through the expired listings, I go through a lot of stuff to find my leads. And that just took a lot of time on top of every single day that just keep compiling every single day. So that was kind of rough. I mean, I got through it. It wasn't that serious. I just not right now. I need to do a little bit more first.
Are you going to do something though to reward yourself for the goal, right? Like you created this goal, you hit this goal, you hit 4. Like I'm not talking about go away for a month, but you know, a lot of people believe in, you know, you don't want to burn out either. I get having big goals. I have big goals. I don't think that I do enough of celebrating wins as much as maybe I should. And I'm not talking about go to, you know, Miami and spend, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars, but just simple celebrate the wins, right? Everybody, we all, I mean, maybe you don't, but like we get down on the losses, right? We can get so low at times but we don't allow that high to live a little bit. So are you doing anything to celebrate your wins in the meantime then?
I mean, when I close something, that's when I'll do it. It's more like go out, get some food.
Yeah. And that's fine.
That's like kind of lame.
Yeah, no, dude, I'm with you. I haven't, I don't go away either. The vacations that I go on are, I'll be completely honest with you, like my in-laws will rent a house at the beach for 2 weeks and we'll go for a week there, right? But I mean, I still work, right? Because like you, I work for myself. The only difference is I'll scale back. So maybe instead of working 8 hours a day, I'll do 2-3 hours a day to make sure the wheels don't fall off. And then when I come back, yes, I'm behind, but I didn't completely fall behind because I did kind of the bare minimum while I was away.
Yeah, always move. Yeah, you're always doing something. That's my thing, is always do something, never do nothing.
But I'll tell you, man, I love that, but I get so infuriated. Like I went to go visit my parents last weekend and I really did want to take some time off. Like I just felt like a day, like I could not work for a day. But then you have clients calling you and you're like, gotta take this. Like I can't say no.
Yeah.
I have like a bad relationship with it at times because I'm like, then I'm mad at like, yo, Risby's calling me. Damn it, doesn't he know I'm away? It's like, but dude, you're never away, right? This business is 24/7. You're never away.
Real estate is a people business and people are always on.
That is for sure. They're always on and they don't care, right? Because them also like me, I want what I want now. Right. I want to get my stuff. Like I want to buy that car now. I want you to pick the phone up now. I want it taken care of now. So it's hard. It's a double-edged sword, right? I want you to be available for me always, but I don't want to be available for you always. That's funny, man. I think we have some of the same goals. Maybe not exactly, like maybe our numbers are different, but I in the same way, I have rental income and I don't touch it. I don't touch a dollar out of it, right? Like I could, it's like, what do people say? Like, oh, if I could take that $5,000 and I can finance I could go finance a watch, let's say. I want to buy a watch. I could finance it. My tenants could pay for it. And it would never be any money out of my pocket. Who cares? It's $300. I'm like, no way. I want to save that. And it's funny, I tell people this all the time. I use watches as a real example. I always thought I wanted a Rolex. I can afford a Rolex now and I have no interest in a Rolex anymore. Like by the time I could get it, I was like, no, I want to buy, like, it's the buying the houses. I'm like, I just want to keep buying houses. I don't want to buy a Rolex. I just keep buying houses. Like, so I don't know when I'm going to stop. I can tell you, I've always said like, maybe if I get to like $20,000 a month, I would stop. But I know it's going to be like, you'll hit 20 eventually. And then you'll be like, no, I want more. And then you'll be like, when I hit 30, then you'll hit 30. And then eventually you're just never going to really, I just don't know if I can stop.
There's no reason to.
Right. There isn't. I mean, the only shift that changes, I look at myself now from a property management standpoint, maybe I would be willing to take less profits to have someone help me. But then I feel like if I get help, I'll grow more. I'll be like, damn, I got more time to keep doing this. So you manage yourself, right?
I do. Yeah. Property management is not that bad. I don't really think it's that bad. It's really not that bad. It's under 10. It's not that bad.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, everybody's always.
It's really not.
Property manager. It's like
people should be managing their properties to learn that game as well, because you can't hand it off to someone and expect them to do everything for you, because that's how you lose.
Yep.
You really be an investor, you gotta learn your strategies. Property management is one of them.
I tell people and maybe I don't always go fix the sink when it's broken, but I mean, I can take the phone call and pay somebody else to go do it instead of paying the property manager to take the phone call and pay somebody else to go and do it. Like there's no point in taking that money. Think about it. Like you know this, but I think other people think like landlords are so, they're so rich. It's like, not really. Like we do have to pay for stuff, I mean, you do have to deal with things, right? As much as we've said that they're easy and the problems aren't that bad, but you do have to deal with them, but it's not worth it to pay someone to deal with them. It's like, it's not that hard. It's annoying, but it's not that hard, right? You can manage it. Like I had someone before this, they texted me, I had the roof leak. I honestly don't remember the conversation with them. It's a 3-family. The roof leaked. And as far as I remember, it only impacted the third floor and second floor. Now the first floor just said to me, he's like, when are you going to come take care of the paint? Shipping. And I'm like, I'm just annoyed because I'm like, I wish you had been more aggressive about this, not 6 months later, because insurance would have covered it. So now I got to come out of pocket, $500 of the bathroom, scraped and painted and stuff like, and again, I could go over there and do it myself, but I'm not going to go do that. Right. Because I am doing other things that's earning more money for myself. Like I run this lending business, right? So that's like my job. I tell people, my 9 to 5 is do loans. And every time I can save more money, I get closer to buying a house. The rentals save money, you get closer to buying a house, right? And then you can buy a house. And then you're kind of poor for a little bit because you spend all that money and you get more rental income, right? And then you just keep it going. And the next thing you know, it's like I have 5 houses too, right? So I have 10 units, 5 houses. And people are like, how'd you do that? And I'm like, I'm small, man. How did I do what? Like, I'm nobody. This is nothing. Like the people that I see out there that own hundreds, like that's what I
Yeah.
want to be. But it's funny, the people who own nothing are like, you're so big. But we're sitting here like, nah, it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's
I
nothing.
know. I know.
And they probably think we're rich, but we're not. Like, yeah, we make a few bucks off of it, of course. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing it.
A little equity.
It's equity, yeah, absolutely. Most of
Little
it.
equity.
So, dude, that's awesome, man. I appreciate you telling me how you got here. So, what's the next thing? Is what do you think about the current market conditions, right? How are they impacting you?
As far as me, my strategy, it works so well for what's going on, especially with the forbearance that had happened. This is the after effects of all that right now still. People are still trying to catch up on the mortgages. Some people are so far behind that banks don't even want to modify loans at first. During Corona and after the forbearance, they were doing trial methods of loan modifications. So instead of, if you owed 60K, instead of paying that 60K or adding it to the back end, you have to make 3 payments of your regularly scheduled payments for us to do that.
Okay.
So I was taking advantage of those. And now what I'm seeing is they don't even want to modify loans unless you force them to. That one I just got last month. They told me we gave the opportunity.
Okay. They didn't use
This is a week before the auction, and they're saying, oh, we gave the opportunity to pay off the liens and we're just going to foreclose. So how you force the bank to modify, if you have to, if you get close to that auction date, is you need 45 days from that auction after you've already settled, especially with it in court and whatnot. Yeah, so just paying the loan modification. So what we did was pay those liens off, and the court had a hearing and showed them that this person's paid the liens. This is what they had in writing prior to that. If they did this, this is what would happen. So we proved that in court. That was overruled, and now they had approved the loan modification for sure. So a lot of people are behind on the mortgages and they have the liens. So taking advantage of those type of properties are big, getting the loan modifications for us. So you have to get approval as far as with the homeowner, getting them to cooperate with the paperwork, things like that.
So really for you, the current market condition of recession coming, rates going up, like whatever, turn the news on, any channel, that's what we're hearing. War in Ukraine, like everything's falling apart. Doesn't even impact you because you're not even going to get a loan. So you don't even care about where interest rates are really.
Right.
If anything, actually rates going up, you get someone who's got an adjustable rate mortgage, they're a perfect candidate for you now.
Right.
Again,
so I don't like ARMs. I don't like the ARMs.
Okay.
I stay away from ARMs at all costs because they adjust.
Yeah.
I like the fixed rate. I like the VAs, the government loans. The reverse mortgages are also good too. You're usually not supposed to subject to those. But the thing is, as long as you meet the 3 criteria of occupying the home and paying the taxes and insurance, the bank can't foreclose. So there's little things like that, little terms and mortgages that you can use to your advantage to buy the house.
Yeah, so I just feel like exactly. That's like you know your tricks. You have your spot. You don't care where the market is, and you know where to stay away from ARMs, right? You want to go with something that's more fixed. So the market condition doesn't impact. It's pretty cool to be going into real estate. Typically, in a recession, is not a place you want to be, and you're like, I don't even care. Like for you, it doesn't even matter. Like real estate's a great place for you to be because you're just assuming mortgages in essence and then making rent off of the current people who want to stay potentially, or they leave and you put somebody else in. Who cares?
Right.
Again, it goes down to anybody who's an owner of property, just as long as the rent's higher than the mortgage. Obviously, we have an amount that we want to be at, but yours is different. Sure, and mine's different than the guy down the street. But as long as you're profiting and building that equity, you're good.
Yeah. As long as the property's livable, they're already living in it. Somebody can go right into it. So you can assign these also to end buyers who have. So I do rent to own programs.
Okay.
So these houses like that one with the 65K lien that I won't be able to sell to anybody else. I could sell that to someone with bad credit with really good income. They don't have to go through a bank to get financing because I could seller finance it to them.
So you'll just seller finance. That's great, dude. And then you'll be a bank at some point at the end of the day here. That's the best place. You won't even have to worry about tenants. You just seller finance everything back to somebody else, and now you just hold mortgages.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. It's OPM, even the tenant's money. So
that is true OPM. Everybody says OPM, like, oh, with the money, I'm gonna borrow your money to go get a mortgage and stuff. You're like, no. I didn't even borrow anybody else's money. I just assumed a mortgage and paid it. Like it literally is across the board OPM. And when you do this, what risk do you have, by the way? So if tenant stops paying and you're like, I don't have enough money to pay this mortgage. Like, can you walk away from that mortgage too? Or how does that now?
Yes, I can. That's a thing that, because I don't convert everybody when I talk to them on the phone. They do bring up that point. if you decide not to make my payments, you could just walk away, but you're not making your payments anyways, to be honest, and I'm going to be improving your credit by making the payments for you, and that'll allow you to get another house. So there's way more benefits with working with me rather than the bank taking it or you trying to give it back to the bank, short sale, all those.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, just put you like, you're in the position now. Maybe I help you for 6 months and then I decide not to pay because I'm a jerk, whatever. I'll put you back in the same position you were in, except I called up your mortgage for you. I literally put you in a better place. You can go sell it now. You go sell it and break even. Maybe you got an equity capture, rates went up, whatever. Equity went up. You're good. So really the risk is like, they have nothing to lose almost at the end of the day.
So for example, the only time that I'll have risk is if I borrow or if I put money into the house with credit or private money. That's the risk I lose, but I'm not, because their money's tied to it. I have partners, money's tied into it. I'm going to be invested in the house. So I'm going to make sure that I get my partners their money back.
Well, that's exactly right, because you're using money to pay off liens to help them. So yes, you're invested, but they should look at it from like, you're going to be better off. They're better off then at the end to allow you to do that. So what's next, man? Where do you go from here? I mean, obviously it's staying the course a little bit, but where do you see yourself? What do you want to do, right? You said you have more to do, right? You don't want to, like, yes, maybe you can take your foot off the gas. Maybe you don't have to work, right? You don't really, you kind of did what that guy said, right? Like you do your Muay Thai private lessons. You could go travel. You've got enough money, right? You really like, maybe you want a bigger lifestyle. I don't know. Like what's next?
What's next? Well, I want to be are you familiar with the Carabettas?
No.
You ever heard that name? They're really big here in Connecticut, Mass, New York. They're a family that own billions of dollars worth of real estate. Okay. They own like huge apartment complexes called the Carabettas. And their whole family lives on one private street in Meriden that's like gated off. It's super cool. I went there one time and tons of mansions on that street, farms. And I was just like, I want to be like the Carabettas. So I want to own billions of dollars worth of real estate, like a Cardone too. I'm sure you know Cardone.
Carabettas, how do you spell it?
Carbetta.
All right, I want to look them up later.
Yeah, check them out, the Carabetta. So I just want to own as much real estate as I can, not just as far as owning houses to own houses or units to units. My goal is to have a certain amount per month net. When I hit that, then I'll start going on vacations more. Right now, I'm just like, go. Yeah. I'm obsessed.
I love that. I feel like we are, I keep saying this, but two guys that are kind of early into this, right, that have seen some success and are just like, let's keep this going. Like we want to keep moving. We know we can do more. We're learning. We're still making mistakes, but we're learning from these mistakes that can really make something big, like starting to see this vision. Like I don't have an answer either, right, to when I'm stopping. Yeah, there's a number that I think dollar-wise of income that could leave me to be like, I don't have to worry too much. And I would like to get to the point, I know you didn't ask me, but I guess my reverse here is just like, I do loans now to pay bills. If I get to a point where the rents fully pay the bills and I can continue doing acquiring, that's like kind of the end, I would say, to me, but it's still growing, right? That's just the end to be like, great, I don't have to work a job. Now I can focus on building the rental portfolio, just the rental portfolio, right? I mean, I call it a job. Would systemize my business. I wouldn't leave the lending business, but I wouldn't need the lending business, right? Like I'm going to pay my bills this month by doing loans, right? I'm not doing it through the rents because the rents are going back out. I haven't eclipsed that number yet. Like I haven't made, my rental income's good, but like, unfortunately, we just like my life, I have 2 kids. Like it's just the, apartment. Like I don't own where I live. I rent. I'm a renter. And I know people think that's crazy, but I just feel like the $40,000 down payment I would need to buy another house. $5 a month. Then if I acquire another 40,000, I can buy a house for myself. I'm like, well, let's buy another house. It'll pay me another.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with your strategy.
So I don't see him owning for myself yet. Maybe when I hit that number, right? And I'm like, oh, great. Like now I'll buy a house. Okay, cool. Because it's paying me enough to live. So now I can take the next 40, buy a house, live in it, start to pay that down, whatever. You know Gerald Peters? Do you listen to him at all? Have you seen him on Instagram?
No, it sounds familiar. I don't think I have though.
Full Auto 11, FULLAUTO 11. He's a real estate guy, stock guy. He loves the stock market, but he owns like 17 houses. And like, he's like built this portfolio, like just, he was a prison guard, right? Cut lawns. Like, it's like, he's like, I'm not educated. I was in the military. Like, I'm dumb. Like I shouldn't be here. Right. Kind of guy. He believes you should own your own home. he thinks like he would say what I'm doing is wrong. He thinks you should own your own home, but I think you should look into him at some point. He's got a good, just grinding. Like he's like, I don't need to work anymore. He's like, but why wouldn't I buy more houses? Like I know the blueprint. Like I already do this.
Yeah.
Why would I stop? Like this is easy for me, he says. Like, and what else am I gonna do? Because he actually says like, he doesn't feel like he'll tell you how much he works, but it's not work. Right. It's that kind of that I'm just good at what I do. I don't feel like I'm working. You know, he's got an Airbnb in Florida. So he's like, I go to my Airbnb for like 2 weeks maybe and vacation, but I'm still working. It's like, I'm still doing my stuff. I'm still researching. You know, he's like, I'm the annoying guy when I meet you. I'm like, yeah, you own your own home? Like, oh, that's cool. Like, house worth, like, how much do you pay in your, you know? And I'm like, I feel like I'm that guy. Like, houses. Like I walk into people's houses, I'm like, I wonder what this guy paid for it. I'm looking it up, like trying to figure out. I just like genuinely like in love with the business. Listen, man, if people want to reach out to you, how can they reach out to you? Where can we find you? Where can we learn more about you? What's the best way to get in touch if you want to be reached?
Oh, of course. I love doing deals with people. Want to learn how to buy houses without the banks. Instagram, Mr. ROI, MR_ROI_.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes so everybody has that as well. So
awesome. Thanks for having me on here.
Appreciate it. Thanks for coming on. I'm gonna stop the recording here.